Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. How's it going? Sean here with another GP vlog video. Yes, it's early in the morning, so I'm not expecting too many people, but I've been having an issue with uploading 4K 60 videos, and I'm just getting tired of going back and trying to re-say everything. So I'm just gonna do this live. YouTube will process it, and then you guys can see it. If you have any questions while I'm doing a short live stream here, then cool. Yep, I'm still getting messages. So, anyways, here we are. I got the LS out now. I've been extremely busy. I got to do this hand thing because apparently, if you're on YouTube, you got to move your hands all over the place to make it look interesting and action because nobody wants to just see you stand in one spot. That's boring, right? So, if you move your hand all over the place, then you're a star. So, anyway, that's not what this YouTube channel is all about. I have the LS out here. Let's see here. Got a lot going on. I've been extremely busy for the past couple weeks. I have not had any time to put into this. I've been doing my best, but I've got a business that I'm running and I'm trying to build up. Not only that, but our esteemed, very intelligent, very charismatic governor here in Michigan seems to think that going to the bathroom at a state park is bad, yet using the bathroom at a gas station across the street is okay. So, anyways, I still cannot get my car a plate because if you remember back when the lifter in this thing, and I'll show you the lift. Holy crap. Go to live stream and then everybody wants to message me all at once. If you guys remember, this is the lifter right here that caused my pain and suffering. And I'm actually going to take this lifter. I'm going to enclose it in some kind of a epoxy or something, make a keychain out of it, or a lapel mount or something. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And I'm going to hang this up in my rearview mirror. Literally. Well, I guess I can't do that because technically I don't have a rearview mirror. Shoot. So anyway, I'll find a spot for it. But this little guy here is going to be a reminder of what a pain in the ass that is. So anyways, um, so here we are. Got all the parts right here on the table, this makeshift table that I made. I don't think I did a video on everything that I've got here. Kind of show you briefly, or I got the DoD Delete kit. This came from Texas Speed. Everything came from Texas Speed. You can get these parts anywhere. Just so happens that Texas Speed was running some deals, and I got the cam from them. But so this is a physical DoD Delete kit. This is the old lifters and stuff. I just set it up there. But this is a physical DoD Delete kit. And the cam is a mild cam. It's a truck cam. It's a 212, 218 cam. So I had no desire at all to put in some super aggressive cam. Have to tune the crap out of this thing. And it's just kind of pointless to me. Okay, to each their own. I would love to have a turbocharged Grand Prix going down the road and whatever, but I've got other priorities. So right now, this is perfectly fine, perfectly good. It's a great cam, and I'm looking forward to getting it installed. Of course, with the whole kit, everything that I bought, you got new push rods, gasket sets, just stock GM gasket sets, Texas Speed gaskets. Of course, I've got the Michigan Motorsports timing set for the LS4. It's a complete timing set. So I've got everything here. This is the spring installer. This is the compression tool from Texas Speed. What do we got in here? Oh, the LS7 lifters right here. These are non-DoD lifters, obviously. Got a Melane high performance, high flow oil pump here. Looking forward to getting that installed as well. Get some more oil up there into those lifters. Of course, the studs. These are not ARP studs. First of all, they didn't have any in stock. They were expensive. Second of all, I'm not putting, a whole bunch of boost into this. So these are not stock, but they are aftermarket. According to, I think his name is Chris, he said they're as good, if not better, than stock. So since I'm not going to be running, 12 pounds of boost, I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Of course, the balancer and the bolt that I just dropped, why not? Because that's what you do on camera. I grab this. Ugh. And, okay, already went over that. The springs. Here's the part number on the springs for you. These were recommended to me because of the lifters in the cam. So, they're spring. James Brewer over Boats Tuning Performance will tune this for me. And I hear he does a pretty good job. So I'm looking forward to getting his tune. He does it remotely. Sends you the tuner. Does it remotely. Just give him the specs, what you need, and he'll tune it for you. Lifter trays, obviously, and the new Valley. This is a non-DOD Valley. If you look right here, this is the DOD pain in the ass Valley right there. Pain in the butt. Sure is. So this is part of my woes, and I'm looking forward to getting rid of all of that crap right there. So let's turn our attention to the motor. I just got the balancer bolt out and realized I thought I had a pulley puller. I thought I did. I know that my dad did. Before he passed away, he had a whole bunch of tools. I thought that he had a pulley puller. He doesn't. So I have to get the pulley puller. Got the bolt out. Wow, that thing was torqued down. So I ended up having to use a breaker bar as well as one of my jack bars just to get that thing out of there. And so anyways, here's the motor. You can see just how dirty it is. So we got a little bit excited and a little bit of dirt fell into the cam area, not that much, just a little bit. So I'm going to blow all that out. I'm going to throw some oil in it, try to get that all down to the pan. Of course, drop the pan, all that other stuff. But you can see how dirty these cylinders are. It's extremely dirty. And I am going to clean all this up using the razor blade technique. I'm going to clean all this and make sure that I don't obviously put any scratches or gouges in here, because that could lead to a premature failure or leak in the head gaskets. But yeah, I will clean all this crap out. This is DOD right here. Okay. This is oil into the combustion chamber. Of course, seals, gaskets and so on, they go bad over time. So eventually stuff like this is going to happen on any motor, but it's exaggerated on the LS or anything with, the displacement on demand, active fuel management, cylinder deactivation, whatever you want to call it. Seems to be exaggerated on these motors. So anyway, this one's way worse, and this is wet still. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's still wet. Okay. So this, I'm going to clean all this off, get this deck all cleaned off, and get everything all out. I'm going to blow all this out, get some oil in there. Once I get the pulley off, or the balancer, once I get the balancer off, I can take this front cover off, start getting the things like the oil pump and the cam and all that stuff out. I am going to do some cleaning on all of this. I'm going to clean all this up. You can see the oil has actually started leaking down in this side here, but this motor has 180,000 miles on it. 180,000. Got a head down here. I got to make sure I don't step on that. And yes, I do get new springs, and I will clean those up. I'm actually thinking about taking those to a shop. There's a local shop who will clean all these up and make sure that they're good for $100 a head. So I think I might go that route. I want to make sure that the surfaces are milled and flat. But I'm not 100% sure about that yet. Okay, I still have a wedding to pay for. So I'm trying to be as conservative as I possibly can. Eventually, someday down the road, because I'm never going to get rid of this car. Never. I don't care. I will be buried in the car. So tell Danielle right now that she needs to get a plot that is large enough to hold the whole car, and then put my ashes right in the driver's seat and then lower it down there. um, but in all seriousness, no, this is just one of those things that you just never get rid of. And I hope that in 20, 30, 40 years that I'm still alive, I'm hoping that I'm still driving this. Who knows? By then, maybe internal combustion engines will be illegal or outlawed, or you got to buy some special permit or something, and it's only reserved for the police or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Things can change. You never know. I hope that doesn't happen, but you just never know. Obviously, with things that have been going on lately, I never expected, so who knows? Anyway, so yes, down the road, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'll pull all of it apart. I'll probably do a frame off, well, whatever you want to call a frame off restoration. Take everything apart, get it all down to nothing, and just build it back up because this is going to be one of those cars that I want to hold on to. It just is. And it's not a valuable, collectible, rare thing, but to me, it's just one of those cars. So, anyways, um, so yes, I will be doing some more. I do have to get a pulley puller, so today I've basically stopped for the day. Um, Once I get all this apart, I can clean everything. I mean, I could technically clean everything now, but I don't want any of this debris or anything to end up down in the cylinder walls and scratch them. You can already see there's some crap that has ended up down there, so I don't want to be moving these around or anything. Get them all nice and cleaned up and taken care of. Of course, if you guys have any advice for me on any of this stuff, I would appreciate it. This is something that's brand new to me. I do have James who is helping me, the Jotes Performance Tuning. He does have a website. He tunes most GM vehicles and most Chrysler vehicles, so keep that in mind. I don't think he does Ford, but he definitely does GM, Dodge, all those guys. And I've seen some of the stuff that he has done, and looks pretty impressive. So when all this is put all back together, I'm going to get a hold of him, and he's going to send me the tuner, and he'll be able to tune it. I don't have anything superly aggressive here, so it's not going to be a big deal. I'm not going to have to go through 40 different tunes to lock it in. It's basically displacement on demand delete with a mild cam and some stronger springs, and that's it. There's nothing else really to it. I'm not getting the heads ported. I'm not going with a turbo. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So really basic stuff. So yeah, there you have it. So yeah, as soon as I get that pulley puller, I was really hoping to spend the day working on this. I really wanted to. But I've got, like I said, I've got a lot of other projects going on, and I can't even, at least till the 13th of June, I can't even drive this on the road legally, which is crap. I'll tell you what. I got so many opinions on it, but basically they're foregoing license fees and plate fees and all this other stuff, or postponing them, that is, and until the Secretary of State opens up. But if you drive around without a plate, then you get a huge fine, and that's bull, okay? Especially people who have brand new cars that they're buying off of the lot. They can't even get a plate for them. That's a joke. They should be able to move something like that online. So the deal is that when the lifter went out in this, and the lifter quite literally spun in the tray, so there wasn't anything I could do about it. There was no recovery, nothing like that. But when the lifter went bad, I parked this, and it sat for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. My aunt had a Malibu, an older Malibu. I think it was an '06, '05, something like that. She had a Malibu that she wasn't driving. So I took the plate from this, transferred it over to the Malibu. That way I didn't have to buy a new plate, buy a new everything, okay? Well, now that I can get this car back on the road here pretty soon, in order for me to get a replacement plate, because right now it still shows the old plate attached to this car here. In order for me to get a new plate, I have to actually go down there in person so that the guy standing or girl standing behind the counter can go toot, 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 toot for about 5 seconds, hand me a new plate, and then I walk away. Okay, why can't that be done online? You can renew your plates online. You can get replacement titles. You can register vehicles online. You can do your driver's license. You can blah, blah, blah. Except except this. And I looked because I was thinking, okay, well, maybe they needed proof that you actually owned it. But there is a Michigan.gov registry that you can log into, and you can see which vehicles are registered in your name. And this car is registered in my name. It shows it's registered, VIN number and all. So why can't I just say I would like a new plate and then assign me a new plate number with different letters and numbers, obviously different from the old one, and then I would be able to get a replacement. I can drive this. Why? Why are certain things locked down to where you can't do it online? I mean, come on, this is 2020 and we should seriously have better ways to do this. And anytime you go down to the Secretary of State, or at least here in Michigan, it's packed. It doesn't matter if you go on a Wednesday, it really does not matter. It's completely packed. And I guarantee you that over half of things that you go down to the Secretary of State for, you can easily do online. Easily. But unfortunately, they're still, in the dark times, whatever. So even if I got this thing up and running, the earliest that I would be able to actually get a plate on it so that I can legally drive it would be the 14th of June. Even then, rumors are spiraling about how it's going to be limited, only 10 people in the building at all times, all this other crap. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to get a plate. And it's a joke. There's laws that require you to do stuff, but then if you cannot you got the money, you got the means, and you cannot get what the law requires because the buildings that provide that service are closed, there should be some exemptions there or alternatives or something. But we unfortunately, anyways, I could go on all day about how pissed off I am about things that are going on right now. But anyways, so here we are. Gonna get the motor apart. The only really, I don't have all that much that I have to do to it. I'm not taking the pistons out. It's not getting hot tanked. I'm not doing anything at all like that. It's real basic work. Gonna get it back in. I do have a new cam position sensor that I am going to install. Look at that thing. Oops. Rotate. There you go. So, yeah, I do have a couple things I got to throw on there. Of course, get all this stuff cleaned up. My future father-in-law is going to take some of these parts that I have here, such as, this cover right here. He's going to clean it all up for me, get everything all nice and spick and span. I'm not doing anything with the block. I'll probably clean up the heads at least a little bit, clean up the valve covers, and I'll probably do all that stuff, but I'm not going to go too serious with it. Again, I just want to get it back on the road. I'm not looking to spend another $2,000 or $3,000 on this thing. I just want to get it back on the road, be a nice cruiser. I'm wanting to go up north. We've all been cooped up in our houses for too long. I want to go take a nice drive. The casinos are opening on the 1st, and fortunately for us, the way that I am understanding it is our governor has absolutely no power to keep them closed anymore, and that's good. There's a lot of stuff going on in Michigan, some of you may or may not know, and whether your opinion is one way or the other, that's opinion, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree if we disagree on opinions, but I'm ready for everything to go back to normal, to open up. And I'm not going to go into why because it's incredibly touchy subject, much like gun rights and abortion and all the other stuff. It's all lumped into this touchy subject where you've got fierce opinions on both sides. And so, anyways, there you have it. So over time, I'll be able to get all this stuff installed. I was really hoping that Ryan would come back, but he said, "Screw you, hate your guts, don't like your motor anyway, it's slow," and all this other stuff. So I was like, "Oh man, that sucks." I'm just kidding. He's busy too. I understand. He's going back to General Motors. They're finally pulling him back to work, and so he needs to make some money too. So I understand. So I'm kind of doing this alone, which is fine. I'll learn along the way. And Ryan is going to miss out on all the fun. That's all there is to it. Getting this thing back in is going to be a breeze. The techniques that we used for getting all this stuff out, it was be just as easy in reverse. Got a ton of room to work with. I'll tell you what, removing the water pump, the whole housing, the whole thing, that, removing that saved a whole bunch of room, way more than I thought. Not only on the front of the motor, but also where the radiator is at. I tell you what, that saved an enormous amount of room. We were literally able to lift this thing out balanced because previously I had to, hoist it up, and what I had to do was I had to lift the front of the motor up so it would come out like this. You guys have seen my live streams and my videos I've done. It would come out like this. I would have to shift it over, drop it a little bit. So basically, it would sit on this here. The balancer would sit on here. Then I would reposition so that I could shift it this way a little bit more and bring it out, over, bring it out, over, bring it out. And I would do that and come up. Well, I'll tell you what, removing that right there, which was actually extremely easy, there was almost nothing to it. Removing that damn thing allowed us to quite literally take the whole motor out straight, and all we did was shift it over just a tad without lowering it and resetting it. All we did was shift it over just a tad so that the snout of the transmission could clear that, and it went right out. I mean, just and I said to myself, that is crazy how easy it was doing that. Just so easy. But anyways, so that technique, while it did take an extra 5 minutes to pull that thing off, it saved us about an hour's worth of pain and suffering getting this motor out. So it's a gain. And with Ryan's help, we were able to, it took us about 8 hours between the two of us. We weren't rushing. I would work on something, he'd work on something. It wasn't something we were rushing, but, think about it. We got the whole motor out, the transmission decoupled, motor on the stand, and one head off just to see, because we were so curious about that lifter right there. One head off. We got all that done in about 8 hours. Now, I know there's some of you wrench warriors out there who are like, I can do that in 1 hour. That's how good I am. So you suck. Whatever. Look, I don't do this every day. I had the basic knowledge of how to do it. Had Ryan's tools, his muscle, his help. We got it out in 8 hours. I think we accomplished a lot for an 8-hour day. A lot of these people talk about doing stuff like this over the weekend, okay? So, yeah, I mean, we did it in 8 hours, and I'm very impressed at how easy it was. I was anticipating some problems, and we didn't have any. Or maybe Ryan can chime in. I don't know if we had really any serious problems. I think the worst that we had was the nut on this was a little bit unforgiving, but we got it out. We eventually got it out. I had to use my air tools to get it out, but yeah, we got it out. So I'm still here, still alive. I'm just so busy. And yes, there is a gray GXP with what sounds like to be a Magnaflow exhaust that drives by. It's a pizza delivery guy. Drives by about a dozen times a day. I hear him every time. Whether I'm at the far end of the house, the far end of the neighborhood, or the far end of the state, I can hear this guy. So every time I hear it, I shed a tear, okay? There is a guy in the neighborhood who has a Monty SS. Same thing. He must have a Magnaflow exhaust because I can hear him everywhere. And again, I shed a tear because I want to get this done. I want to get this done and back in here and be able to drive this car out of here. Just be and enjoy the drive. It's not about speed. It's not about how loud you are. This is going to be my fun, good weather that is summer. So let's say late spring, summer, early fall. This is going to be my daily driver, my cruiser. It's going to be my squeeze every horsepower that I can out of it. I'm done with those days. I would love to be able to throw a turbo on this. I would love to be able to do all that stuff. But I have other priorities. I want to just get this thing back on the road because I enjoy driving it. I really thoroughly enjoy driving it. I don't full throttle everywhere I go. I don't burn out everywhere I go. I don't act like a dick on the road because I've got this. And I realize that there are a lot faster cars out there than this. Right out of the factory. I mean, hell, a Toyota Corolla probably has as much power now in their V6 as that thing does. I mean, that's just the way that it is. Technology improvements, variable valve timing cams, dual overhead cams, super this, spectacular that, and you could get 500 horsepower out of two cylinders these days. So, yes, I am fully aware and put into my place every time. If a Mustang pulls up next to me on the highway, I'm not going to think that I stand a chance. I'm just going to cruise. It might be a little fun, but I already know what this is capable of. I already know how much power I have, and that's all. It's enough for me. Okay. In my youthful days, when I was in my 20s, and I'm like, oh man, I got to eke out every horsepower I can so that I can fly through town and show off my exhaust and blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but it's not me anymore. I have other priorities. I'm building a business, I'm doing lots of other things in my life. I just want to get this back on the road so that I can cruise, so that I can take Danielle, take the kids, take them all up north on a nice cruise. Just enjoy everything about everything. You know what? That's what it's all about. So I do have to get new pulleys. I did notice that some of these pulleys are in pretty rough shape, actually. They're not spinning so great. So I don't know. Anyways, so there you have it. I think the live stream is going to be ending here pretty soon because I got other things I got to do. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on everything that's going on here. Go back, if you're just joining, go back through the live stream after YouTube has processed it. You can see me going over all the parts that are going to be going inside this, the cam and the lifters and all that other stuff. And it's going in this motor, and I'll clean everything up. Like I said, I got my future father-in-law who is retired and loves to do stuff like this, so he's gonna clean some parts up for me so that I can get them back installed so that it looks a little bit nicer. No, I'm not gonna hot tank the block or do anything else like that. I'm not gonna paint anything super red or whatever. I'm just gonna get everything nice and clean, and then when it's clean, I'll get it back in and I'll enjoy it because I don't have my head under the hood all the time. So yes, there's nothing wrong with having a clean engine bay, but it's not a priority for me right now. Eventually, like I said, I'll tear this all apart, bolt by bolt, piece by piece, get it restored. I'll do all that, but not now. Not now. I just want to get it back on the road. So that's what I'm doing. So anyways, there's your update. I do appreciate your help. If you have any advice while doing this, let me know. This is my first time. I've pulled lots of motors out, whatever, but never actually tore into a motor before. I watched my dad when I was a kid do it. He had a 78 Cheyenne pickup truck. It was the K1500, and he took the small block 400 out of it when I was about 6 years old. Took the small block 400 out of it and put a 427 in it. He hot rodded it. He actually he had the crate, and I still remember when the truck dropped off the crate. It was actually two crates of parts. He decided that he was going to build it himself. He didn't want it as a crate motor. He wanted to build it himself. He was very fascinated with that. And he worked at GM, so he tinkered with a lot of that stuff. So he was more than capable. So he gets this 427 big block, carbureted. I think he put an Edelbrock, I think it was an 800 or something. It was this massive carb that he put on it. And yeah, absolutely loved it. I mean, I watched him put this together. I remember the first time we drove around the block, he wasn't going to beat on it. He wasn't going to do anything because back then it was more about breaking things in. Today, not so much. Still a good idea to break your stuff in nice and easy, but back then it was much more critical and crucial to break things in. So I can remember it was pouring down rain, and my dad had his buddy, I can't remember his name. Harry, that was his name, Harry. My dad had his buddy Harry on the phone because Harry also worked at General Motors, was also an engine builder, and was just basically making sure that my dad was, following all the steps and stuff like that. And I remember we had him on a cordless phone, and my dad moved. He took a phone cord that plugged into the wall. He moved it into the garage, the receiver, and then we took the cordless out with us while we were in the truck. It was pouring down rain. I can remember it was pouring down rain. He didn't want to put the hood on, so he put like OSB or something like that. He put that over the top. He wanted to run the motor so bad. So here we are. We've got this wooden hood over the motor, which it didn't even get wet. I was surprised because he put a tarp over it too. So we had the wood holding down the tarp, so nothing did get into the engine bay. There was no water or anything. And I just remember my sister and I, my sister being about 4 years old, me being about six, in his pickup truck, rolling down the driveway for the first time and driving slow around the neighborhood while he was on the phone with Harry. And we got about, I would say, maybe a quarter of a mile before we ended up losing Harry because it got so staticky. Back then it was analog. So we held on to him for quite a while, but my dad drove 2 times around the block, slow, nice and slow. And I can remember looking at the tachometer that he put on the steering column, and he said, I don't want to go over 2,000. I don't want to go over 2,000. I don't want to go. And he kept saying that. So I think it had a turbo 400 transmission in it. And for some reason, it wasn't shifting right. The motor was fine, but it was shifting too late. So he had to end up figuring that out, which he did. But he would have to actually manually shift from the column and just to get it to shift in the next gear because he was only giving it probably 10% throttle and it wasn't shifting at all until he got it into second gear and then third gear using the column shifter. But yeah, it was, I think it was a Turbo 400. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But anyway, I have fond memories of that. Remembering that my sister was crying because she's like, what if we're only, a couple of blocks down the road. She's all crying because she thought, what if we stall out? What if we can't? It's raining. What are we going to do? She's all freaking out. Of course, I was a little nervous too because I was watching the tachometer. I'm thinking to myself, is the motor going to blow up if it goes over 2,000? I was all worried that we were going to have a big fire and all this other stuff. And I was hoping that it would keep raining in case there was a fire. As a kid, you don't understand those kind of things. And those are fond memories for me. My dad getting all that stuff together. Eventually, he got the transmission figured out. Eventually, he got the hood back on. And he drove it to work and back nice and easy for a couple of weeks. And I wasn't in the vehicle, but from what the conversation that I heard that my mom wasn't too happy about is that on his way home from work, because he worked second shift at General Motors, on his way home from work, he went all out on it. The speedometer topped out in those days at 85. And he said the speedometer had wrapped all the way around, almost all the way around. And, I don't know what that means exactly, but I'm sure that he had it probably up to about 120. That's my guess. But my mom wasn't too happy when she found out that he did that. But, he'd been waiting weeks to finally open it up. And he said it moved like nothing before. Definitely moved better than that small block 400, that's for sure. And it was a GM Performance crate engine that he put together. So it had all the bells and the whistles at the time for a carbureted big block. So yeah, it moved and it definitely sucked gas way more. My mom was making comments about that. It had dual tanks. So it had I think there were 24, maybe 27 gallon tanks. It had dual tanks. And she would complain about having to get more gas all the time because she drove it too. So, from time to time, we were down to one vehicle and that was it. So she would complain about having to keep going to the gas station because it did suck a lot more gas than that small block 400 did. No doubt about that. And the way that my dad drove it, well, he had a pretty heavy foot, which that's why he did what he did. But, at that time, let's see, when I was that age, he would have been in his late 20s. So he was still chasing the power like I was in my late 20s. And now I'm just looking for a cruiser. So Hopefully you enjoyed that story. I got some fond memories of my dad working on stuff, and I was real nervous about getting into anything car related because I'm thinking to myself, I'm just gonna break it. I'm not gonna be able to do it. And every single time I did that, and I challenged myself to go further and go further and go further, I find that my comfort level increased substantially. So I like to think that I'm following in my dad's footsteps. He's not here anymore. I'd like to think that I'm able to do things that he was more than capable of doing. And hopefully he's looking down and, he's basically proud of what I have accomplished. That I'm able to do stuff like that I'm able to pull stuff apart and install stuff like this. Hopefully he's proud of all this. So he was alive the first time that I got the motor and stuff out. And anyways, so there you have it. There's my 36-minute live stream. When YouTube's done processing it, you guys can see. But you can comment still here. Let me know what you think. We are going balls to the walls here pretty soon here. I got to get a pulley puller, and then I can get that front cover off, and then I can start getting the timing set out, oil pump, cam. Really curious to see just how much slack is on this timing set. I really am. Can't see it really. Oh, there it is. Really curious to see how much slack is on that. It is the original timing set, and it's got 180,000 miles on it. So I'm curious to see just how much wear is on this. And no, I'm not looking at my cam bearings. Anyways, so thanks again for all your support. If you got any tips, tricks, advice, or anything else like that while I do this, again, it's getting a cam, oil pump, timing set, springs, DOD delete kit all around. So looking forward to it. I will clean the deck. I'll clean all of these cylinders out. I'll do all that stuff as well. So I do appreciate your support, and I appreciate everything that you guys helped me with. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. I never imagined that I would get that far ever with what is technically a car channel. So pretty cool. All right. If you got any questions, let me know. Of course, as always, thanks for your support, and take care.